Hi guys, today I'm having a conversation with a natural open bodybuilder.
Right, so funny enough, I never actually saw myself as a natural open bodybuilder, but I guess that's it. Yeah, so competitively, I compete as a natural bodybuilder. Obviously, usually men's open. This coming up to my third competition, so I've been doing this for 4 years now. Work-wise, so I'm a personal trainer, online coach, and also sports massage therapist, and I actually currently studying to be a chiropractor as well. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here on the channel, sit down, have a chat, and hopefully have a good time.
Yeah man, happy to have you on. The point in these conversations, real relaxed, just a nice casual conversation, just to find out kind of where you're at in terms of competing, your future goals, any messages or any lessons you have for newcomers to the sport, people thinking about coming, or just people who have stumbled across our video that just want to know what natural bodybuilding is about. So yeah, where to start? I guess, as you said, you've been doing this 4 years. Do you remember your first competition? What federation was that in, and what weight class did you?
Yeah, so that was first competition was 2017.
Cool.
Okay, until ending of 2017, and it was in the Southerns. In Basingstoke. That was with the BNBF. So yeah, to be fair, that they were the only. They've always been the only ones that I've competed with.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so literally all my shows have been with them.
Okay.
So I remember it, man. Literally, I think for me the striking thing was seeing my body transform in a way that I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So I'd say like, I was always sort of in and out of the gym. Obviously, growing up, I used to play a lot of football.
Yeah.
So I'd be in the gym, obviously never to actually train to put on any muscle, just sort of general. And then sort of after getting injured and stuff from football, decided to sort of nip it in the bud on a serious level, because I did have plans to go to America on a football scholarship.
Okay.
So again, I was never, even though I enjoyed the gym, I would never push myself to the building of muscle size, if that makes sense. And then I remember I used to train with my brother, and he, was really into like just heavy weights, pushing, so I started training with him sort of after kind of coming off the football stint, and kind of got in all right shape.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was coming up to about, that was like 2014, 2015.
Okay.
I would say really started to get into like the gym and stuff, and then kind of got with the missus, and sort of didn't really take the training too seriously anymore. Spent a lot more time with the missus and stuff like that, and then just randomly I remember him posting up a picture on his Instagram about, when, kind of just a throwback about when we used to train, and I was like, this is in good shape back then. Do you know what I mean? I had a six pack and that. And then I was like, I want to get back in shape, man. It was just always kind of in the back of my mind, and I would say this was probably about a year into when my brother got into proper bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So he'd competed a couple times, and he really got into it. Then he prepped himself. And then I think he was at that point where he was thinking, do you know what, I reckon I can prep someone for a show.
Yeah.
And it was sort of around that time when I saw that when he posted up a picture on his Instagram, I was like, yeah, you know what, I want to get back in shape. So I was like, why not kind of kill two birds with one stone? Use the show as a means to kind of see where he's at in terms of being able to prep someone, and obviously trying to challenge myself and saying, let's see if I can get to that level or even better. And then lo and behold, 2017, bringing a package that I ended up placing third.
Good.
Which, you know,
First time out.
Yeah, that was in the in the amateurs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy with it, man.
That's good, man. That's good. That's good. So, from your first show to now, how do you feel your mentality has changed towards not just prep, but I don't know, the importance of the package you bring? Because I guess the first time you stand on stage, you're oblivious. You don't really know what is your, first of all, what you're gonna bring, because you've never got to that level of conditioning before.
Yeah.
But second of all, you may not know what is important to bring in order to win. Basically. How was your view of that? All of that changed.
So I think it's always been a kind of, in my opinion, if I'm being honest, it's always been a roller coaster with me and competing. So first time again, if I'm being honest, the goal wasn't to go and win.
Yeah.
It was like literally, you know, let's get this prep done. I think I've done on that prep I've done 16 weeks.
Okay.
And it was like, you know, the last couple of weeks it was like, listen, I just want to get this over and done with. I don't want to compete again. It was sort of like a means to an end.
Yeah.
And then it was like, when I actually got on stage, you know, they always say you get that buzz, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get that bug for it. So, you know, and even just some of the guys that won, they were like, listen man, I thought you was going to get it and this and that. So that kind of helped with the confidence a little bit better, do you know what I mean? So, even after the show, I wasn't planning on competing again. It was always like, you know what, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And it's really funny, after my first show, I had no intentions of competing again.
Okay.
That was literally the honest truth. And then come probably, so it was like back to how I was training before, just not really training too seriously. Just more like maintaining the physique, if that makes sense. And not really pushing myself at all. And then, you know, you obviously what happens is you once, and this is what I love about natural bodybuilding, there's a big community within it. So what then tends to happen is, you know, from your shows you start to follow a lot of people and stuff like that. You make friends, and so in my head was like, you know what, I'm not planning on competing again. But as the months kind of went on, and you know, obviously you're seeing people then talk about they're getting ready for the prep, and you know, you're like, you know, you start getting that buzz again for it. And you know, I was just like, just hit up on coach. I was like, listen, man, let's do another show. And I think the tough thing was, the biggest debate on it was like, I literally probably had, if that, about 8 weeks. Obviously, if that, I'd probably say probably 6 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know. If anything, it probably wouldn't even be a proper off season at all. It was like, listen, this is when we want to start, like, just push yourself as much as you can. So
in that time,
in that time frame. So yeah, honest truth, man, I didn't have a decent enough off season, but I think my mentality going in to that prep was way different to the first. Like, I think definitely intensity in the exercises went up 100%. I was PBing on like deadlifts and squat as literally right up until like the week before show day. Like, I was smashing. You know, going in every session just trying to smash as much as I can. I definitely think the training during that prep was probably the biggest thing. I would say the food aspect of it obviously was different. It was different to the first one, in the sense of I personally honestly felt that prep was a lot more enjoyable in terms of the meal. A lot more variation, I would say.
Your second one?
My second one was a lot more variation. Again, obviously I'm assuming that, you know, in the first one I never experienced anything like in terms of the rigidity and stuff. So I think the second one, few meals were different, a lot more flexible, a lot more easier. Plus, I would say probably one of the biggest factors was my first year competing. I was at college, and the biggest issue I found was there's no way to heat my food up, and it was just, the meals were just awful. And then obviously the second time I was at uni, and we had a communal area where we had ways to heat up our food. So it was a lot more, I felt like it was a lot better. And then you know what, all in all, like I definitely had brought a much better package. Specifically probably in my biceps and in my traps, my upper back. Was different. I definitely put that down to the training and the intensity throughout the prep, the whole way through. And so I did that in 2018. So again, you know, went from finishing the 2017 prep thinking I am competing again, to literally just jumping on in 2018 and bringing on a much better package. That one was in the Welsh. And
is that one on YouTube?
That was the one on YouTube.
Do you know what? That's the before again. His brother is my coach, so I got to know that he was a coach through watching your videos.
Oh wow!
Because I was researching natural. I've just come off football. Okay. I've just stopped playing football and decided I can't pursue that anymore. And I was like, what's natural bodybuilding like? What does physiques look like? And I saw your video, and I was like, and I know you lot from when I was younger, but I was like, I know him. And I ended up looking, and I was like, oh wow, that's a different level of conditioning. That's like, I didn't know it was even like that. So I remember that comp. So yeah, if you guys can find it, do you remember the name of it?
It was 2017 BMBF Welsh show.
If you guys can find it, search that up. Drop a like, drop a comment, drop some love on it. It is obviously 2018, you said?
That was 2018.
2018, so it's been there a while, but drop a comment on it and show it some love, because that will give you a good insight into, in my opinion, what you're getting yourself into. And if you see, well, you will see Oggz this year. If you see what he's bringing this year, you'll see the progression and the improvements made over the course of a competitive career. So I think that's important to mention. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
So that one, the show was in, let me tell you
Was it Welsh?
Yeah, Welsh.
When do Welsh? Welsh is first, isn't it?
Yeah, it was an early show.
Yeah, Welsh is normally early.
I think it was June.
Yeah, maybe even earlier.
Yeah, May or
because
June.
Southern is June, I think, or July. Yeah. Southern is June or July, so Welsh will be like May.
I think it might have been.
It might have been around May.
Yeah, May, because the only thing you read is like, so I did that comp and placed third in that one, but it wasn't enough because it was quite an early show. If they were only doing top 2 for British finals in that one.
Yes. Okay.
And for me, it was like, you know, I would say that I did everything I did within the prep phase, and I wasn't going to beat myself up about, you know, because one of the feedbacks they was just like the guys who placed first and second, they just had a lot more muscularity than me. You know, they gave me, you know, said obviously posing was on point. Conditioning
was obviously on point.
It was just like the guys just had a bit more muscularity. I don't know, was I disappointed? Nah, I think because at the end of the day I looked at it was a much better progression with, you know, from the fact that I didn't really have an off season.
I was gonna say, you know, you didn't put 100% in off season as well.
Yeah, and you know what? That's I ain't gonna lie. That's probably my Achilles heel. When it comes to it, so. You know, because that was such an early show, I had a holiday to go to.
Okay.
And it was kind of like in my head was, if I'd qualified for the British final, I would have kind of sacrificed the holiday. Still would have gone, but kind of still prepped throughout the holiday. But I'd say probably the biggest factor was the fact that it's like, you know, I didn't place for the final, and I was like, you know what, so be it. Just have to kind of nip it in the bud. And you know, there was still talks. You know, quite a few of the judges was like, "You sure you're not going to compete? You should compete." compete again? Because obviously there was still quite a few shows.
Yeah, I reckon you most definitely would have qualified if you had gone to even at least one more.
Yeah.
I think you would have most definitely qualified.
Yeah, and that was kind of the biggest battle, because, you know, coach was like, yeah, man, you should just we can do it on holiday, we can still kind of put. I was just like, nah, man, just have to nip it in the bud. It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? And even when I came back, there were still talks about it, but I think I'd kind of already made my mind up.
I think mentally when you check out, and I was like this, and coach had to talk me back in because when I mentally checked out, and as successful as my first year was, that adds so much more pressure. And I'm trying to check out, and my coach is going, no, you have too much on your shoulders now to be. You can't do that. And I think, but once you mentally check out, you either need somebody there going, no, you have to do this, or that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, really.
But and the other thing, but I said the only difference between mine and yours was, like, for example, if the feedback I got was muscularity,
which is time.
You know what I'm saying? So, in my opinion, if I competed against if I competed against those same two people, and I knew that there were other people who were competing that were bigger, it's kind of like I couldn't have. There wasn't probably much more I could have done. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool, maybe we'll come in more conditioned. Improve on posing, but end of this, the way I look at it, it's like it's a bodybuilding show. They're always gonna
look for size,
kind of pick the guy who's bigger. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, maybe that's just a bias, but that's kind of what my reasoning was. Whereas for you, I think you won shows and it was like, dude, you can win British final, like. But
I was so checked out. Like, I was so strung out.
Because I think the difference, if I won my show, and they were like, yeah, you're gonna have to watch out, then it was like, listen, okay, let's nip this competition, this holiday in the bud, and let's see if we can, but again, it was kind of like, did I want to go through all of that and compete in British finals for the sake of competing?
Okay. I hear that.
That was it. So that was probably one of the biggest difference going into like
the following year.
The following year, and if I'm being honest, a similar thing happened. Came out, and I thought it was like, this is probably my last show.
Yeah, and now you're back.
And then I'm back, and the same Achilles heel, man, no off season.
Yeah. What? I think this is a good touching point, especially for the new guys. What is it about off season that you find a struggle with? Because, and the reason I asked that question with such intrigue is because most people find the gym stuff the easy stuff. Coming to the gym, eating loads of food and kind of doing what you want depending on how strict and stuff you are and where you're trying to be. Coming in, lifting some heavy weight, doing what they need to do, go home, have a life, yeah? You told me earlier before we got on camera, you find the prepping side, the nutrition side of the prep especially, fairly easy. You like cooking, you like being creative with it, you have your coping mechanisms to help you get through that. What is it about off season where you just can't seem to find that coping mechanism to just keep you plodding along?
So the difference is, I'll tell you, the big thing is, I never intended to compete.
Okay, fine.
So the difference was, if I don't intend to compete the following year, then my question then becomes, why am I chowing down excess calories and excess food and pushing my body to the limit if I don't have an intention to compete? Because I think that this is one reason why, personally, for me, I like natural bodybuilding, is because I like the longevity. Some people may argue, but so I would say, but at the same time, I understand where, same as when you're dieting, you understand, okay, I've got a show to compete. So the dieting process, because you know you've got a show to do, then it's going to help at least with the accountability to make sure you stick to your food, so on and so forth. And I think it's a similar thing. If you don't have any intention to compete, you're not going to have that 7th or that 8th meal when you're full and you're tired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you know, if you or you can hear in your mind the judge is saying, yeah, the guys were bigger than you. You need to have more muscularity. And you know you're gonna be, you 100% know I'm gonna be stepping on stage next year or the year after. You're gonna put that meal down.
Yeah.
You're gonna drink that extra shake. You're gonna stay up that extra late. You're gonna get up that extra early to make it. You're gonna do that extra rep. You're gonna push it through. So I would say again that was my biggest downfall. That I never went through a process where it's like I'm gonna compete, and not just for the sake of maintaining and getting in shape. I'm gonna compete to win. I think that's different, two different mentalities. So this is why, when you said at the start, natural bodybuilding, like that's why I find it a strange term. Because I sometimes don't see myself as a natural bodybuilder because I've never pushed myself with the building process. I probably even call myself a natural body sculpture. I always tend to kind of get to a point I'm like, let's go for a cut. And cut down, and I think one of my biggest strengths is the conditioning aspect.
Yes.
I'm good at getting conditioned. But yeah, so I, even in where I'm at in this prep, I'm like, the different mindset is I'm in this prep and I'm now thinking about off season for the next show. Whenever that's gonna be, I'm not sure, but
as long as you know there's a next show.
I know there's an off season and a next show,
right.
and I think that's
all you need.
That is literally, and I think even like literally when I have the chats with my coach, like that's literally kind of 80 to 90% of the moon, like this man, like flipping heck, because I think this is probably the deepest I've been in the prep, and it's having a toll on, I think this time round, especially because of all lockdown and everything, I would probably say that I've probably 10x'd on my interest in bodybuilding.
Okay.
So that's why I like this chat, because if I'm fully honest with it, I wouldn't have called myself a natural bodybuilder or even a bodybuilding fan.
Okay.
Up until the beginning of this prep.
Okay. All right.
And what I mean by that, it's literally I've gone in on. I'm like, listen, let me strip it back to see where this whole thing started. Let me see how these guys used to train at the beginning. All the old school bodybuilders. I'm more like, Sean Ray, all these kind of guys. Kevin Laverne, like these are guys like over this prep I've been studying, thinking, how are they training? What are they eating? How is their mindset? Literally all the way through the Ronnies, the Jay Cutler. So I think now I'm a lot more of a bodybuilding fan. And I think that makes a huge difference.
I think it makes a huge difference as well, because I gathered most of my motivation when I transitioned from football. I gathered most of my motivation from watching Ronnie Coleman and these guys. Then I quickly realised that obviously a lot of these guys are announced. I knew nothing of steroids, so it sounds stupid to say on camera, but I genuinely thought that was natural. Still a massive fan of all of it, still a massive fan of the bodybuilding greats, but I found a different level of appreciation and probably a deeper connection to natural bodybuilding. But without going into that, yes, when you are a bodybuilding fan, when you're a fan of anything you do, when you love, like, are interested in anything it is you are doing, I feel like you're always going to get that increased level of productivity out of it. You're going to get that increased level of motivation, determination to do well at it, because you're invested, you're emotionally invested, and I think you've picked a good time to become emotionally invested. Especially with COVID going around at the moment. This prep has been elongated for not just for you, but for obviously everyone else competing this year, because shows have been pushed back at least once, at least once now.
Twice.
Twice now.
Yeah.
There you go. So the dates have been pushed back twice.
All the qualifiers got.
Oh yeah.
Cancelled. So
Yeah.
if you class that as a push, then it was supposed to.
It was technically it's a
Yeah.
push.
And
Yeah.
then it
So
was supposed to be September, then they pushed it to
turned
October.
to October now. So now they've rounded everyone up to.
Yeah, but you know the mad thing is obviously don't want to go into too much with the whole COVID thing, but now they were talking about reducing groups down to 6 now.
Yes.
So again, that includes theatres and all these things, and obviously the shows that have theatres. So it's literally now I'm just like refreshing that BNBF Facebook page, like what's happening now? You know what I'm saying? Because you know it's I don't know, it's hard to then turn around and be like, what? Okay, you tend to push to compete and then potentially not be able to.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think because everyone is in limbo, it's hard for the governing bodies to be like, okay guys, you know, we're gonna push it back. It's definitely gonna happen because they don't know.
Yeah,
they don't know.
So, you know, and it's like obviously they're at the point where now they've pushed and committed.
Yeah.
Because in their head they were like, okay, cool, should we have pulled the plug at the point of the qualifiers?
Yeah.
And tell people, listen, let's pull the plug
next year,
get on the off season, do your thing. Obviously, you know, it's tough when a lot of the people in the federation, if we're being honest, sometimes this is all different thing.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Alright guys, we're back. So Oggz, how has bodybuilding affected your family life? Because I know, like I said off camera, when I was prepping, your wife was pregnant. So how is it? How many kids do you have now? 4 kids now.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it's not like this is your first go round, but
yeah, man.
How's it affected?
Yeah, to be honest, everyone who's prepped understands that it takes a toll.
Yeah.
Not just on you, but everyone else around you, especially those closest to you. You know, because kind of looking back, you look at a lot of these bodybuilding greats. Again, I'm a big fan of Sean Ray. And he said himself that's why he didn't have a missus or anything like that. Because he understands how much he just wasn't willing to give up any of that time, you know, to instead of training and nutrition and stuff. So it definitely takes up a toll. I think in terms of time-wise, you don't get to spend, in my opinion, as much quality time as you could, because you know you gotta sometimes get up early to do your walk, and sometimes you're just prepping your food, and you're out training, coming back and you're tired, and sometimes you're going to bed early and stuff like that. So you know, and I think the other aspect of it is when you've got then your wife and a big family, it's like days out and stuff becomes could potentially become a little bit technical.
Yeah.
You know, me, I it's weird. Like, I don't have a problem with taking my prep food to eat and stuff, but it's like my wife, you know, bless her, she always feels like, what's the point then? Like, if she's eating and the kids are eating,
kind of you can't eat.
Yeah, like the whole idea of it, and then you know, she purposely won't arrange for us to kind of go out. Because obviously she understands, you know, she feels like, you know, it might be hard on me if everyone's scoffing down the burger or whatever. But you know, but for me, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, I think that aspect of things, I don't mind. I say to her, listen, like, if you want to go out for a meal, whatever, let's go. I just want to eat. Like, I think I've got that mindset already. Once I start a prep, it's like, you know, I don't, you know, there's these people who just chase a cheap meal, and that's not me. Like, I'll go out, and that's the thing. Like, I try still to be social. I remember you did before coming, you were saying about it, but I still like that whole social aspect.
Jesus, please, never me. I can't.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't mind it, man. Like, because for me, it's one of those ones where it's like I see it's like self-inflicted. put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's exactly correct. That's exactly correct.
So I think the hardest bits is at the end, coming up to, like when you start hitting like 20, between 20, 25. It takes a toll. I think for me, because I have other things going on. Yeah. And you know, 4 kids. You know, obviously like newborn at the time. So I've got all 4 kids under 10 and under. So they take up a lot of time and energy. Also, my wife, she's homeschooling the kids, so the kids are home. Okay. They're screaming, and I'm, you know, at the end of the day, like my wife, obviously, she's running a business from home as well. So I'm having to always, you know, still do my fatherly duties, still got to help out. But yeah, it's tough because even at that time, I'm still studying at uni, so. Where all, you know, and all the lectures at this point was gone online, so I'm having to do all of that and prep and make sure the kids aren't screaming. And so it does take a toll, and I think mentally, psychologically, you get into that dark place, and you know, I think the biggest factor is sometimes indirectly you begin to affect the people around you without you even noticing.
I think it's inevitable with prep. I think you're doing unnatural things to your body in the sense of having your expenditure is obviously exceeding your input. So you're gonna get to a place after how long have you been prepping now? 27 weeks? 27 weeks of, as much as you want to play around with the food, it's the same food. Same thing for 27 weeks. You can try as hard as you can to be the best husband and father you can. There will be times you are less than pleasant to be around. It just is. It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
And I think the biggest factor within it is, I think especially if you have like spouses, big thing is communication. And I'll tell you what my biggest downfall is within it. It's when you're in debt or you've been prepping for so long, in your mind you feel as though your partner and your family should understand what you're going through. And that's the biggest thing, because the reality is they don't know.
Not a clue.
But in your head you're like, listen, I've been prepping for 20 weeks and I'm silent, I'm not talking, and you're asking me what's wrong. Like do you know what I mean? It's like, you're like, you know, can you not see? Like, do you not know? You know, and I was having this conversation with my wife, man, like, we was having, and to be honest, having a little heart to heart, and and sometimes you're like, you know, you can do a little bit to help, but it's for them, they're like, we don't know.
Yes.
And it's a different. I think it's tough because sometimes you can. Your assumption is, listen, you must see what I'm going through. But the reality is they don't know, innit? And you know, until you sit them down and you talk and you actually hear how they feel. And that was stuff, man, because you know, like, it's different because you sometimes, I don't want it to sound so like esoteric, but sometimes you lose a bit of touch of reality. Because you're in your own bubble and you're in your own zone.
100%.
And it's like you begin to forget the importance of the people around you. And you know, the reality is, as much as you're doing it for, you know, yourself, you're also doing it for them, because you know, reality is, natural bodybuilding has helped a lot of people in their careers. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people have moved on to doing personal, help them better themselves as a personal trainer, as an online coach. And so I think, you know, for most of these people who have a family, and I'd say including myself, it's, you're doing it to better the family, if that makes sense. And sometimes they look at it, it's like, well, no, you're just doing it as a hobby.
But again, that's where communication, as you've already said, is key, because if they don't know your intentions behind it and they think you're doing this as just a throwaway hobby, like your average gym goer,
Yeah.
you're gonna respectfully, you're obviously gonna face that. You're gonna face that misunderstanding from time to time.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, man, every competitor, everyone who competes, I'm sure most people have, you know, and I sometimes don't want to diminish the profession, because at the end of the day, it is a profession, and there are people out there who make a career out of this. They make a career out of competing. So I sometimes think I shouldn't take it for granted, if that makes sense. And at the same time, it's like you say, communicate that if that is the goal, and I think it does help a lot, because, you know, spouses do go through a lot, and I definitely would like to see more content around that in terms of the spouses aspect, because as much as we would like to communicate, it's different when you have when you hear it from them. Because I'm not lying, but the other week my wife was talking to another competitor's wife, and literally in their conversation I was like, bro, like, I didn't even know you don't go through that kind of thing. Like, they're talking about, like, you know, sometimes we feel as though that they're gonna break up with us, and I'm like, what? I mean, so
it's real.
So it's crazy.
It's real.
It's crazy.
But as you said, when you're in your bubble,
yeah,
these things are, first of all, you're oblivious to it, and second of all, those thoughts are not happening in your head. In your head, you're just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, you're like, listen, you're taking it a meal at a time, you're taking it hour by hour, day by day.
That's it.
You're like, I just need to survive this day. And tomorrow's another day. You're like, listen, I need to survive these obstacles. And you know, sometimes, and I'd say, if any spouse of a competitive bodybuilder is watching, it's not personal.
No way.
It is not like, you know. But yeah, so I think, you know, it does, and like for kids, I think the hardest bit is fuse. You realize how, and that's the thing about bodybuilding that I love, is that it tests you not physically, like it does test your mental strength. It tests your mental strength.
Everyone can come into the gym as long as you're physically capable to lift a weight. Everyone can come into the gym and lift weights. As long as you are capable of putting a microwave on or an oven, anyone could go through, prep and cook sweet potato, rice, oats, whatever the case may be, and eat that every day. It's the mental aspect of doing those things that's the difference between somebody who doesn't compete, someone who does, and the champion.
That's,
those gaps are all between mentality.
And do you know what? I think, as you put it that way, when you do each stage, you realize how kind of hard a person has to work. So I'll give an example, like where I sometimes do online coaching. Some of the clients, they'll do like a 6-week plan. And they have a better appreciation for people that compete. Because they're like, listen, how are you doing 24 to 30 weeks of this? They were dying at 6 weeks. And then when you compete, you have a better appreciation for the pros. Because you're like, flip, I killed myself and I ain't even freaking win a show. Or you think, whoa, I just scraped British final. And you're thinking, damn, like, these guys who go on and become pros, and then those who are then winning pro shows. And the elite pros, where they're almost walking comp sometimes. They walk in and it's like they won. Like the work and the mentality and the mental somersaults they probably go through. Because I've spoken to some, and I will have some more on the show, but I've spoken to some, and they say the exact same things you're saying now. They're in their bubble, it's very difficult, they're just trying to get through it. They all say the same thing, but that's the difference. The mentality, they will not waver. That is what they are there to do, they're going to do it. That's the difference. I think every year, man, it's weird, like people, I think for me it's like, you think to yourself that you couldn't do that again. and then you say to yourself you won't do it again, and then you find yourself there. And you know what it is? It's like, because I'd say my last prep, I did 20 weeks, and I was like, God, that was tough. And it's weird that you do it again, and 20 weeks comes and goes, and you're like, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Yeah. So I think you realise, and there's a lot more you can deal with. Do you know what I mean? Like, you realise your fuse. It's weird, like things that last prep would have send you off the rail won't send you off the rail this time. But there'll always be something new. That's the thing. If every prep has to take you to a place you haven't been.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing. And that's one way where I love competing is it takes me to places physically, mentally, emotionally where I haven't been, and it tests your character, it tests my character. Especially as a man, as a husband, as a father, that I need to be able to handle these things and not make myself break.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'd say definitely the mental grit is one thing that you have to have in order to not to affect your household. But I think inevitably in a prep, there's definitely going to have some sort of challenge. But I think communication before you start a prep with your spouse or your family. I would say some practical things in hindsight. Definitely take the family out a lot more beforehand.
Yeah.
And like I said, explain to them a lot. Because sometimes you think that the kids themselves, you think the kids know, like they're thinking to themselves, like, we didn't tell you to compete.
Yeah,
Why are you getting mad at us?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it does. But again, every prep is a learning curve.
Yeah.
And the goal is that the more you compete, the more you're able to deal with, the more your family can do it together with you, and the more they understand, and the more that they can kind of help out the environment within the house and see it as like, you're doing it for them.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 points to touch on off the back of that. Number one is for you guys, I will be having my wife on. If I'm honest, I don't know in which order I will be releasing these videos, so she may have already been on. But one way or another, she's gonna be on, or she has been on, and we're gonna touch on exactly what Oggz has just said. I think it's important for the spouses of the new competitors, the spouses of veteran competitors, the spouses of anybody, to understand that they're not alone in that feeling, because I think it's easy, as Oggz said, for your spouse to sit back and say, oh, this is a lot to deal with. And regardless of how many people are dealing with it, it's a lot to deal with, but you're not alone in doing that.
Yeah.
It's not personal to you, as Oggz has already said. It's part and parcel of what happens. It's something, as Oggz has also said, communicate beforehand. Discuss what it entails, discuss what needs to be done to keep you happy as a spouse while this is going on. And again, you know your dynamic with your partner. These things just need to be you can't leave these things to chance and to surprise, because that's when you end up having more and more negative effects from it. The second point I want to make off the back of what Oggz said, for the newcomers or for guys thinking about coming in, mentality. We've spoken about mentality for about 5 straight minutes now. Mentality, a lot of you guys, because I'm the same, so many new people are the same. You're more worried about what you look like than the process in which you need to go through to look like what you think you want to look like on stage, if that makes sense. Everyone wants to get to the point where they're ripped inside out and go on stage and be like, cool, I'm going to bring my best package. You don't think about the process. As a newcomer, I didn't, before you get there. You may be one of those lucky people, in a sense like Oggz, where you can prep and it doesn't completely and utterly crush you. If you're like me, I struggle heavily. I gain muscle easy during off season. I can improve, but when it comes to prep, it's a different animal. I struggle so much, and in that respect, me and Oggz are complete polar opposites.
Yeah.
Complete polar opposites.
Mine's the opposite.
There you go.
Yeah. It's very. I find I'm hard to put muscle on. Hard to get that motivation to go and lift heavy. Stuff all that food down because like I say, it's just embedded to like I'm just that natural lean person. Go do my cardio and so yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important that you guys take in consideration not to be frightened of this process. This is again personally to me, as Oggz has said, you're going to face a different challenge every prep, but you will get stronger every prep. Every prep, you're going to have mentally trained yourself before to deal with what's coming. And you may be able to prepare yourself for 80% of what's coming the next time. It's just you will get obviously certain things that pop up that you weren't expecting that you're going to have to deal with. But that's life. That's life in general. So don't be afraid of the process, and don't be afraid or don't think you're not cut out for it. Competing is more than just turning up and trying to be a champion. It teaches you a lot of transferable skills and life lessons, and it teaches you about yourself. It teaches you about your personal resolve, your willpower, how far you can push yourself, and it might lead you to a ton of other things that benefits you in so many different ways. So it's something that, although me and Oggz speak about in a daunting way because we've been through it, you don't have to be afraid of it. You don't have to be afraid of it. It's not anything to be afraid of. Like any sport, there's a certain amount of sacrifice and a certain amount of practice that goes into it. And it's just part and parcel of being successful in this sport. It is what it is, really. It is what it is. Alright guys, we're going to do Gene's top 3. The 3 questions I ask every guest on this show, as a bodybuilding fan, what I want to know about my guest. Question number 1. What would you have as a 3-course cheat meal if you could have anything? 3-course cheat meal, what would I have? So I would have, they're going to be 3 courses from different places.
Yeah.
If I was to have...
If you're doing it right, it has to be. It has to be from different places. It has to be.
So I would have starters from TGI's, their wings, the Jack Daniel wings. I can't even say it now. I'm deep in this process. Jack Daniel wings. I'd have as a starter. My mains, I would have. It's gonna sound random, but German Doner.
Yeah.
I'd have.
That bangs.
I'd have that. They're literally, man. The chips, there's chips, meat, and salad in a box.
Yeah.
All the sauce, all the trimmings. And then as a dessert, I would have a what's it called? Cookie dough and ice cream.
From where?
I would have it from Creams.
Yeah? Have you had sprinkles?
Oh, boy, you threw it there, man. Yeah.
Sprinkles is the bomb for that.
Sprinkles, yeah. You just remind me.
Yeah, they set the bar for that, in my opinion, and I'm really picky about my cookie dough.
I've had that's the first time I've had it was actually in sprinkles.
Yeah.
And that's triggered me because a lot of the times I never actually go back to sprinkles.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was because obviously where I ended up living near.
The location's not great anyway.
Only benefit is parking there.
Yeah.
But ever since then, every time I went to any of those places, it's always been cookie dough.
Yeah. Cookie dough bands.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, not super exciting, but that would be my my top 3, man.
I ask these questions because the point is they need to be a variety, and you get a variety of characters on the show.
Yeah. And
so many people have so many different ideas. For me, it would be a burger all day, every day, all the time. I just love burgers.
Wow.
Like all the time, it doesn't matter.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? Different personalities, different things. Number 2, who is your favorite compare in natural bodybuilding?
Again, not to sound biased, but Opio.
Yes, brother.
Yeah.
And my coach.
and I will. And again, the only reason why I would say it's because of the backstory.
Yeah.
And where I knew the backstory of where he's come from. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The mental grit. I don't know a lot of other pro bodybuilders personally.
Yeah.
But when I look at it from where how quickly has became a pro, was another reason why. 3 years kind of competing.
Yeah.
Technically, if you class the first one, you could probably write that off as not really competing with that as a charity.
That was a charity, I remember, yeah.
To place in basically 8th in the British final the year before
he turned pro.
The year before to then come in 2nd in the qualifier the following year.
Yeah.
Mate, like, it's a whole, and obviously you haven't obviously, like you say, you're backloading these videos, so it'd be interesting to see his thoughts. But a couple of other podcasts he's been on, and he's kind of touched on it. But I class him as my favourite natural bodybuilder because, again, he still hasn't got out. There's still a lot of information out there that if people really understood, yeah, man, like, because even from when he became pro, I was there. Like, we went to Miami.
I remember you showed me the video, and I hear your voice in the background screaming his name. I seen pictures.
That was like, I'm telling you, that was years, man. Like, it felt like I was on stage with him, man. It's just years, man. And even just the accolades he gets from pro bodybuilders, like, just his knowledge and not just as a bodybuilder, but as an online page. Knows what he's talking about, knows how to train. Like, even just last year, he's been injured, and it's like, just.
Well, as you guys will see, as Oggz mentioned, I have shot with OPO, so it's either been on already or will be on.
Yeah, man.
I'm assuming it'll be on already. And as you'll see, I tried to keep up with him, and he's had a bad shoulder for about a year.
Yeah.
And I still can't keep up with him.
Yeah, man. And that's one of his big things, I'm sure he'll mention that.
Yeah.
Because again, I've done work, massage work and therapy work, alongside. The annoying bit is the fact that we aren't able to get it as consistently as needs be.
Yeah.
But like now where I've kind of reduced the uni work, I have a lot more time. Did some work on him last week, and he's feeling a lot better. So the plan is that we're gonna definitely get some more work done with rehabbing that shoulder and seeing
getting winning pro shows.
Yeah, getting back in there, man. But yeah, so definitely, but hands down. But again, some honourable mentions. Obviously Nathan Williams. Nathan Williams. David K.
Unreal. Unreal.
These are some serious guys, man.
And seeing these guys in person, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing Nathan yet, but I've seen David, and seeing them in person versus Instagram, which sounds backwards, because most people touch up their Instagram pics and they think, oh, they look great. To see this man in person, it lets you know you're not quite there yet. You think you look good when you're on your own in the gym and that, but you're not quite there yet, mate. Because you can't stand next to him. Unreal.
Obviously got Mount Claxton strong.
Solid. He gave me good advice as well.
Mount Claxton.
Bob Waterhouse, very complete. Very dense. Very good.
He competed at lightweight.
I'm actually not sure. Before he turned pro, I'm not sure what he competed as. I know as pros, I think it's just one pool of guys. So I don't know what he competed as beforehand. Hopefully I can have these guys on the show, by the way. A lot of these guys are all in Scotland and further up north. We're based in the south towards London. So It's difficult to get these guys on the show, but I'm going to try and get them on the show.
Last year's pro, very good.
Simo.
No, not Simo.
Last year's pro?
Yeah.
My year?
Yeah.
Oh, Solomon.
Solomon, yeah.
Oh, mate. King Soul.
Yeah.
He's another one I'm going to try and get on the show. King Soul.
Very good.
Yes, very.
Listen, man. Just need to. Listen, everyone's been asking for it, man. We just need that pro show. Where we can see Nathan, all these top pros.
I think this year has offered a perfect opportunity for that to happen, because next year now, it's like all of these guys have done off seasons. I don't think any of these. I think maybe David, because David's always flipping lean. He's always in shape. But like most of these guys could be ready for next year now. You know what I mean? I think it needs to happen. It needs to happen,
man. Well, we'll see. But yeah, so that's. I'll be honest. I need to try to venture out on some of the other in some of the other federations.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Because again, this is. I'm guilty of this. I'm not a natural bodybuilding historian by any means. I don't come on this platform and act like I know everybody and I know everything about natural bodybuilding. That's not what this is about. This is about shining the spotlight on natural competitors like yourself, pros, amateurs, newbies, doesn't matter. Yeah. So this is basically what I'm trying to promote, and I'm going to try and get more and more guys on, and like you said, try and shine a light on guys that maybe aren't necessarily through the BNBF or DFAC pros. They may be pros in different governing bodies.
WNBF
That's
is
the one.
A good one, and I can't remember. I think it's Ben Howard. I think that's his name. Very good pro.
Okay.
But yeah, man. So
yeah, definitely gonna get there. Right, final top 3 question. What is one thing you wish you knew either before starting your competitive career or early into your competitive career?
How important nutrition is.
How important nutrition is.
On both ends. Definitely when I was younger. If I understood the importance of nutrition, that would probably be the biggest asset I think I would have had in my bodybuilding. If that's the number one, I think one of the two would either be that or become a bodybuilding fan very early. As in just study all the greats from an early doors, because I think that would have helped a lot more with my training aspect. And I think in terms of how to train, how to manipulate muscle, and you're young, you just go in and just try to lift as heavy as you can. You know about
no way.
So I'd say but I'd say the number one key is just the nutrition aspect. Just eating a lot more food. Because again, I was never interested in building my physique. It was more say just keeping lean. I had principles of eating healthy. And I think probably another factor that didn't help me was, I think, my genetics, because I could get away.
I know exactly where you're going with that.
I can get away with eating, pretty much anything that I wanted to,
and stay
pretty lean. So I didn't really pay too much. I just thought that, well, this is just how it is, I always thought we get bigger by just lifting heavy. I just go to the gym on an empty stomach. Sometimes go the day with just eating biscuits and chocolates, and just go in the gym, and had no clue about nutrition whatsoever. So just like general, growing up in Trinidad, your parents are gonna cook you proper homegrown food. So that's kind of what I knew, and then just obviously back then you were restricted from loads of snacks and stuff. So for me, when I got to an age where I can spend my own money and make my own money, I would just still stick to the foods that I was used to eating, but just take out my snacks. But my genetics I didn't suffer with that. So I guess I was still playing a lot of football and stuff, so there was always that balance. But again, I had no real clue about it, and I definitely said that that's probably one of the biggest things that I wish I knew back then.
just to come off the back of that for you guys again, new guys, guys thinking about coming into the sport. Again, genetics is very important. I played football as well, but when I did play football, I was still I was stocky and solid. I'm short anyway, so I'm solid and stocky. So when I started the gym, I was putting on size similarly to Oggz, eating almost whatever I wanted that had no nutritional value to what I was trying to do, but I was still putting on size anyway. That only happened for 4 months. Then you hit a brick wall and you start to realize, oh, I actually need to know what I'm doing to actually progress further now. And it's important, if you are watching this and you do have the benefit of knowing about this before you go into it, you don't need to get a coach. I recommend it if you are planning on competing right away. If you're just somebody that wants to come in, see how it goes for a couple of years of building some size and getting the physique you want, then maybe later on you'll think about competing. Just research. Research the basic fundamentals of macros. Research what it is you need to grow good lean muscle. At the same time, don't take it too seriously because you are young. Most of you guys' genetics are gonna mean you aren't gonna get fat and just blow up at the sight of a burger or a couple cheat meals. So have fun with it, but at the same time, you need to know in your mind why you're eating what you're eating, and that it is important to progressing you to the point you want to be. Turning away from the sport and going, this isn't for me because you weren't eating right, is the worst thing you can do. That doesn't mean it wasn't for you, it just means you weren't properly equipped. So make sure you equip yourself properly before you make a judgment on where you think you see yourself within the sport or just within gym life in general. Yeah. Is there anything else you want? Anything else you want to touch on?
One second. There was something.
Yeah.
This is what I was going to say. I think one of the other differences back then when I was younger, there wasn't much information really out there about, but it wasn't a thing, if that makes sense. About
any of it.
Yeah, literally.
Enhanced anything. It doesn't really matter.
I literally just remembered like Arnold, and that was just old. Like, didn't really know much about it. And I think now, it's a catch-22 because I think now there's a lot more accessible information out there. You have access to coaches and stuff, but at the same time there's a lot of noise.
I was just about to say that, and I said this, I'm going to say this every chat, I think. There are bad coaches, there is bad information out there, but not all of it is bad. And I think trial and error, in my experience, has helped me out. But if you can try to maneuver the bullshit, then
I think sometimes there's no harm, like you say, try and error. There's no harm in, I would say, get a coach, for maybe a 6-week off season, or even if it's just a 6-week cut, just get a coach, because a competition prep, a 6-week prep, it's not gonna break your pocket.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You don't want to go and invest in a competition prep and you don't, because the reality is, if you got a coach, I would say this, right? If you have a coach, you have to listen to everything your coach tells you.
Yes.
Because you will never be able to, that will always be playing in your mind. If you have a coach but you're still doing your own thing on the side, and then that's not how it's going to work.
Nope.
It doesn't do you're wasting your time, your money, and you're wasting their time. So, because like you said, you're never going to know.
No.
If you don't allow them to let them make the mistakes, so then okay, maybe I'm not the right person for this coach, or vice versa. And then you go off and you find a different guy. And I think the other aspect is the coach will respect that. Like, you're like, listen, I've done everything that I needed to do. Didn't really feel that I was getting the results. But you know what? Reality is, I think, nowadays, man, like, I would like to give people the benefit of the doubt to suggest that most coaches do know what they're talking about. But I think the difference is you have to understand, you have to find whether their approach, because the difference is, right, not every coach will prep the same.
No, definitely not.
Right? And that means that a coach might prep one way that just isn't right for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't make that coach a bad coach.
No.
It just means that their methods and their approach is different.
It's not for you.
Suit you, right? So, like you say, go and try someone else. Like you say, maybe say to the coach, okay, I'm planning on doing a competition next year, and I want to do 6 weeks first. I'm just on a cut, on a diet, just to see if your approach is best and suited for me. And the whole thing, and this is why I say to my clients, you have to be honest and have integrity, man, because again, you're not fooling anyone. Like, if a coach has been getting results, he knows that what he's doing is right. But then, like I say, if you're cheating on your meals and you're doing, your coach is going to know. Any good coach will know.
There are certain inconsistencies in your weight readings and stuff that show that you've cheated as opposed to you've just stagnated a bit.
Yeah.
There's a difference between
100%.
having to drop your food and you cheating. You can tell. You can tell.
And they say most honest coaches will say, listen, okay, cool, I'm sorry that my approach didn't suit you, but maybe here are some good recommendations that I would recommend. And that's what I love about the BNBF, is because you have, say for example, some of the judges that they might, they see people who come and they prepping themselves, and they'll say, listen, have a look at this coach, have a look at that coach, have a look at this coach, have a look at that coach, that might be able to help you. So definitely I would say that even if you're going to get a coach, there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of social proof out there as well. See who they've prepped, maybe contact that person who they've prepped, ask a few questions. It's your due diligence, man. Like you say, sometimes you're giving up 5-6 months of your life prepping for a show. You want to make sure that you find the right person for you. And that's the key. Listen, don't just, in my opinion, don't just deal with DMs and non-contact. Listen, I sometimes say to people, let the coach work for their money, man. You know what I'm saying? Before you hand over any money, if it means, as I said, even if it means you traveling, 2-3 hours for just a meeting consultation with your coach, that's all going to be investment in the long run.
It is, and it's very important when you stand on that stage and you look exactly as you wanted to, regardless of your placing. When you look exactly as you wanted to, or better, because I look better than I ever thought I'd look. It validates all of that. It validates all the work you put in to find the right person. It validates the money you spent, which, in my opinion, at least my coach does not break the bank. Especially, like I said, when I stood there as a winner, I definitely didn't think it broke the bank. So, I think invest that time in something that's it. Is that important? It's really important, and it's something that you need to obviously think about properly. You touched on loads of stuff that I think are going to help these guys. If we have missed anything, obviously drop them in the comments, let me know, or DM me on Instagram. Where can they find you?
So Instagram is probably where I'm mainly active. So that's Oggz _Okwee, so OGZ_OKWEE. I have also got a YouTube channel as well where you're talking about the BNBF videos, just a couple of other bits, training and stuff. Not as active, just as I touched on my lifestyle, quite busy, and hopefully in the foreseeable future just get more content on. I've already spoken to him about potentially getting it down on my channel for that. So hit me up, and if there's anything that I touched on that you want to go in a little bit more depth, feel free to message me. But again, if you want to see like pictures and stuff of previous comps, check my Instagram, scroll through, or you can go onto my YouTube channel and have a look at that, my last comp.
Sweet. Like and subscribe. Head over to Oggz's platforms, like and subscribe, follow. Make sure you show him some love. Like he said, any questions, fire at him. We're happy to answer whatever you guys want answered. That's why we're here. Cheers for watching.
Yeah, man. It's good.